Hey there, I'm Mike Rugnetta. Welcome to the salon. This is Mental Floss Video, and did you know that there was almost a spin-off of the show Friends starring Lisa Kudrow as her character Phoebe? You probably know that Joey got his own not very successful show, but in 2003 it was announced that NBC was developing a show about Phoebe. It would have starred Kudrow and Aisha Tyler, who played Ross's girlfriend Charlie on Friends. The show's working title was Girlfriends. Ross was supposed to make sporadic guest appearances too, except the project fell through. And that is the first of many movie and television spin-offs that almost happened that I'm going to tell you about today. There was almost a live-action Simpsons spin-off about Krusty the Clown starring Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer. In 1994, Simpsons creator Matt Groening wrote the pilot. He later explained one of the show's issues, saying, "We had this running joke in the script that Krusty was living in a house on stilts and there were beavers gnawing their way through the stilts, but somebody at the network pointed out how expensive it was to hire trained beavers, and an equally prohibitive cost would have been to get mechanical beavers, so I said, if we animated this, we would not be having this discussion." That wasn't the only Simpsons spin-off planned. According to Josh Weinstein, a former showrunner for The Simpsons, a show was in development during the mid-90s that would have focused on the other citizens of Springfield. It didn't happen simply because everyone working on The Simpsons was too busy. Speaking of popular cartoons, MTV's Daria almost got a spin-off focusing on Trent Lane and his band Mystic Spiral, also the name of the spin-off, but by the time the writers finished the pilot in 2002, MTV Animation had already closed. The pilot script is included in the Daria DVD box set, and for the record, I was always a much bigger fan of Something Something Explosion, but you do you, Trent. I get it, Mystic Spiral, it's pretty cool. A pilot was made for a MASH spin-off based on the character Radar, but he decided to go by his civilian name Walter for the show. And to make things even more confusing, that new name was addressed on a different MASH spin-off called After MASH. Anyway, the show Walter did air on some CBS affiliates in 1984, but they never made more episodes. If you watched season 5 or 6 of House, you might remember a PI named Lucas, played by Michael Weston. In 2008, the creator of House, David Shore, announced that he was working on a spin-off about this character. According to Shore, the show would have been an independent world, a character out of the House mold, but definitely different. Guess the mold broke. Show didn't work out. There was almost a spin-off of The Wire, which would have been all about the character played by Aidan Gillen, politician Tommy Carcetti. One of the creators of The Wire, David Simon, once explained, "We were actually trying to spin off the City Hall show to do a political show. We wrote a bunch of scripts that would spin off after season 3 of The Wire, but HBO said, no, we only want one show that nobody is watching in Baltimore, not two." I, for one, blame the dock workers union. Another popular cable show that almost got a spin-off, Mad Men. A few options were entertained over the years, like in 2015, Lionsgate TV COO Sandra Stern claimed that the company was interested in Peggy getting her own show, but Mad Men creator Matthew Weiner wasn't ready to commit. AMC also expressed interest in a modern Mad Men spin-off. According to Stern, given the fact that Mad Men ends nearly 50 years ago, most of the characters would be dead. Sally was the one character young enough that you could see her 30 or 40 years later. So once again, the takeaway here, everyone on Mad Men is dead. NBC passed on an Office spin-off about Dwight called The Farm. You can watch an episode of the show because it was in season 9 of The Office. This is called a backdoor pilot, which is basically when a series puts a spin-off pilot within the original show to see how the network and audience react. We'll get to some more examples of these later. The Farm starred some now familiar faces like Thomas Middleditch of Silicon Valley and Matt Jones of Breaking Bad. During season 4 of Family Ties, Scott Valentine played a character named Nick Moore, who almost got his own show. In 1986, they actually filmed 2 separate pilots for the beloved character. One even aired in 1987. It was called The Art of Being Nick and also starred Julia Louis-Dreyfus. NBC didn't pick up the series, and Nick kept appearing on Family Ties instead. Unfortunately, we can't talk about all of the potential Star Trek series and movies because there are so many, so I'll just tell you about 2 abandoned spin-offs. After Star Trek, the original series, was canceled in 1960, 1969, Paramount asked Gene Roddenberry if he'd make a show about Spock and planet Vulcan. Roddenberry turned them down, live long, and get out of here. Another Star Trek spin-off that was discussed after the original series ended was based on Harry Mudd, who was a comedic con man in 2 episodes of the show. Roger C. Carmel, who played Mudd, claimed he learned about the spin-off after it had already fallen through. Roddenberry mentioned it to him at a party and explained that the artists didn't have enough time to develop it. In 1999, actor Philip Morris announced that Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David were working on a spin-off for his Seinfeld character, Jackie Chiles. He was a popular attorney character who appeared on 5 episodes throughout the show's run, but NBC denied knowing anything about the spin-off, and we still don't really know what was going on here. I mean, what's the deal with TV studios? Another popular sitcom character who could have gotten his own show, Robert from Everybody Loves Raymond, played by Brad Garrett. His show would have also starred Fred Willard and Chris Elliott as his father-in-law and brother-in-law, respectively. Eventually, the whole thing got delayed due to negotiations and then fell through. The abandoned Audrey Horne Twin Peaks spin-off ended up inspiring another David Lynch project, the film Mulholland Drive. During the run of Twin Peaks, Sherilyn Fenn was talking with the producers about an Audrey show that would have taken place in LA. It didn't work out, but Lynch reused the concept of a small-town girl who had just moved to the city driving down Mulholland Drive for his future film. Who's the Boss had a 2-part backdoor pilot, which would have turned into a show about Katherine Hellman's character Mona. In the 2 episodes, Mona visited her brother Cornelius and agreed to help manage a run-down hotel that he had purchased. ABC passed, and Mona came back to Who's the Boss. There were 2, count them 2, ideas for a Buffy the Vampire Slayer spin-off that didn't end up becoming shows. One was a show called Ripper about Rupert Giles, a character portrayed by Anthony Stewart Head. Hope is still alive for it, though. In 2012, Buffy creator Joss Whedon said, "With Ripper, it doesn't go away in my head because he's still right for it, and he could still bring it." The other possible Buffy spin-off would have been a show about another Slayer, Faith, who was played by Eliza Dushku. After Buffy ended, Dushku met with Joss Whedon about the possibility of a Faith show. Whedon was focusing on his family at that point, so he wasn't ready to commit a lot of time to the project. Plus, Dushku wanted to move on to new characters. Another 2 people who almost got spin-offs, Norm and Cliff from Cheers, my personal favorites, who would have had a show together, of course. According to writer-producer Ken Levine, NBC approached them about 5 times in regards to a Norm and Cliff show. They always passed. According to Levine, 1 Cheers spinoff was enough, and they already had 2, Frasier and the Tortellis. The series Welcome Back, Kotter contained a backdoor pilot episode. There was an episode titled There Goes Number 5. The show would have been about one of the nerdy student characters, Arnold Horshack. In the episode, his stepdad dies, and he has to take care of his younger siblings. You know, typical sitcom stuff. Welcome Back, Kotter did end up getting its own spin-off. This just was not it. While we're kicking it old school, let's talk about I Love Lucy. There was almost a spin-off about Fred and Ethel Mertz. The characters were played by Vivian Vance and William Frawley, and allegedly Vance hated Frawley so much that she refused to participate in a pilot, even turning down a $50,000 bonus. In season 5 of The Brady Bunch, the Bradys meet the Kelly family. The parents were white, but they'd adopted 3 kids, including an African-American son and an Asian-American son. This was an attempt to create a more diverse show for television, but it didn't turn into a series of its own. There was also a backdoor pilot during season 3 of The Gilmore Girls, in which Rory's boyfriend at the time, Jess, as portrayed by Milo Ventimiglia, went to California to reconnect with his dad. The show would have been called Windward Circle. Rumor has it that the WB decided it would be too expensive to shoot the show on location in Venice Beach, so they passed. And during season 5 of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, there was a backdoor pilot in the form of the episode Witchright Hall. It was all about Sabrina's bratty cousin Amanda, who was sent to a boarding school for witches. The show didn't end up happening, but a few of its characters appeared in future episodes of Sabrina. A backdoor pilot about a rebellious young girl came in the form of the Valley Girls episode of Gossip Girl in May 2009. This would have been a spin-off about a character's mother back in the 80s. Brittany Snow portrayed the younger version of the mom, Lily Vanderwoodson, and Kristen Ritter played her sister, Carol. Later that year, CW president Don Ostroff announced that the series wouldn't happen. Let's finish up with some movie spin-offs. We all loved Chris O'Donnell's portrayal of Robin in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Love it. Genuinely. As it turns out, he almost got a movie of his own, but Batman and Robin bombed, so nope. Meanwhile, who is psyched for 2 Batman vs. Superman sequels? Another almost spin-off from the Batman universe was a Catwoman movie starring Michelle Pfeiffer. She was in Batman Returns, but didn't appear in Batman Forever because the studio wanted to make a standalone movie about her. There was even a script, and Tim Burton had signed on to direct. A couple years passed, and the project fell apart. Finally, I return to the salon to tell you about another Catwoman, Halle Berry. She almost got a spin-off from a different franchise, James Bond. She played Jinx in 2002's Die Another Day. That same year, a director and 2 screenwriters were hired for a spin-off project, but within a few months, MGM abandoned the project. Thanks for watching Mental Floss video, which is made with the help of all of these very nice people. Let me know which of these spin-offs you would have liked to see, and which one you think would have been terrible. Personally, I am very disappointed we didn't get the Audrey Horne Twin Peaks spin-off. Think of all of the amazing sweaters that we missed out on. Also, don't forget to be awesome.